Sonic Outcome Memories is a multiplayer 1v7 asymmetrical game that's based of the Sonic franchise and the EXE community related content like Sonic the Disaster that's free to play and in Roblox. Like holy crap. Now before I get into the details, I just want to say,
hell, it's about time.
When this game dropped, everyone was hyped as hell, and everyone wanted to cash in on that hype train. Nix, Your Average Nerd, Dunkachi, and many more. Unfortunately for me, I wasn't able to get a video out and ready by the time the hype train died down. I was too busy with other going on in my life, as well as the game deciding to release at midnight. So I wasn't really prepared to make a video that fast. So I decided to wait a few days and get a proper feel of the game, what the game has to offer, and what it will offer soon. For now, I'm just gonna go over the general gameplay and lore, the characters we play as, and the maps. But before we start, let's go over the general gist of the story and gameplay. This dude, who calls himself the Outcome King, is basically the equivalent to the entity from Dead by Daylight, or the Spectre from Forsaken, and is essentially forcing other EXEs and survivors into his realm, where they are trapped there for the king's entertainment, I guess. Now the wiki claims that he is just a joke character, but to that I say, but now in this realm, the survivors need to try and survive until 80 seconds remain, where a exit point will spawn, and can be used to escape the EXEs. Speaking of, the EXE's main goal is to just kill everyone before one of them escapes. After every round, you gain rings to spend in a shop, which I'll talk about later. Now depending on your score, you'll get literally nothing, or up to 350 rings, and that's pretty much it for the story and gameplay. There are more in-depth lore about each specific character, like how Sonic is meant to be from Sonic's ED, and accidentally traveled to this realm. Or how the upcoming survivor has some beef with a specific EXE, but for now, let's just focus on the gameplay. Speaking of, how about we focus on the available EXE that we can play as, since this game only has one. Now then, let's take a look at the one, the only. Now, where to start with you? 2011X, who I'll refer to as X from this point onwards, is supposed to be the original EXE back in the year 2011, and is meant to be a starting point for X in this weird timeline. In lore, X and Tails are from the same world, but unlike most EXE games, where the characters we play as are actually vessels, containing souls that are ultimately doomed no matter how hard you try to save them, Tails is actually himself, not a vessel being controlled by a soul, and so is the rest of the survivors. Now how does X play? Currently, X has 4 abilities: Invisibility, Charge, God's Trickery, and Rage. Invisibility is simple, you turn invisible, and can move fast to find or catch up to survivors. If you are close, you see them highlighted in red, and if you're close enough, you can see their name pop up on the bottom left, and allow you to instantly teleport to them. However, you aren't allowed to jump for some reason, which is an absolute pain in the ass sometimes, and you perform a 2-second animation, and are completely vulnerable to stuns. However, the 2-second animation won't play if you're not too close to a survivor, which kinda begs the question as to why it's there in the first place. The second ability is Charge. You start charging up a move with 3 sound cues. On the third, you start if you come in contact with a survivor, you'll perform a grab, which forces the grabbed survivor into a QTE minigame. What's weird is that, if you grab a Metal Sonic, you'll curb stomp the shit out of them, like goddamn. The third ability, God's Trickery, is basically an instant teleport to the nearest survivor. You also spawn 3 clones to fool other players. Now his ability says that X will be color coded and you'll have to copy a move corresponding to a color. If you don't, you'll get hit and your screen will be disoriented and your controls will be reversed. There are 4 colors to keep an eye on: blue, orange, distorted, and black. I'ma keep it a buck 50 with you. Distorted and black I can deal with, but I genuinely have no clue what the fuck blue and orange are supposed to look like. Even after hours on this game, I still have no clue how it's supposed to look. But enough about that. Let's talk. I said, let's talk. You know what this shit.
On your guards. Here I come.
Rage is probably the most important ability to use in his kit. It grants X a temporary speed and damage buff to both his normal attack and charge, and a heavily reduced stun duration. And what makes this ability feel broken is that it stops the timer from moving. Instead, the ability forces the survivors to pray to a god that they don't get little for about 1 minute and 30 seconds. And if a green ring spawns in, that ring will be broken, meaning that the survivors will actually be stuck until the ability's duration has depleted. It will also allow X to temporarily see the position of survivors when first used, and when you down or kill a survivor. The only downside to this move is that your attack speed is lowered, meaning you can't spam your attacks, and it disables God's trickery. Your invisibility remains available, but works in a weird way, as it will highlight all survivors, but heavily slows you down. And if X kills the second to last survivor before anyone escapes, the ability automatically turns off. If I'm being honest, this one ability will effectively decide how the match will go. If X is able to get some kills with this move, it just may help X be able to serve a wipe, or at least start a chain reaction. But if I'm being completely honest, he feels weak. As in, powerful. But when compared to the survivors, will feel like he needs buffs, especially with one, but I'll get to him in a minute. His abilities are good, his attack speed is good, but depending on how good the survivors are, it can feel like he's not good enough, and makes his kit feel like it only wastes time and force X to take some stuns. Even his rage ability, the best ability for him, can feel useless. Because of his lowered attack speed, it can feel like you're wasting time missing over and over again, especially with how Roblox hitbox detection can be. But for now, let's take a break from playing and take a look at the shop. The shop lets us get introduced to a shopkeeper who goes by the name Tarvin. Think of him as the merchant from Resident Evil 4.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger. What are you buying?
In here, at the moment, he's just a merchant. Whether he becomes more involved in the game remains to be seen. For now, if we check out the shop, there is a lot of stuff to earn, and I mean, a lot, with many of them being references to other types of media, like Devil May Cry, TF2, Deltarune, other stuff related to the series, and even random memes. What makes it better is that you can mix and match whatever you want. Even the EXE has something to buy. At the time of this video, X has 2 taunts and 2 alternate looks, one being just X, but in classic Sonic form, and Hatsune Miku. For some reason, I honestly don't know if it's a reference to something. But whatever, there is another skin, but it's off sale at the moment, and I think it's supposed to be its own character, kinda like Echo Fighters from Ultimate. Now before I move on to the survivors and maps, I just need to do something real quick. Bonus points if you get the reference. And before you ask, no, I'm not doing it for the survivors, just X. Now then. Base X is pretty much either a complete noob, a decent player, or a chill dude to hang around. Pretty much any stereotype can fit this version of X. They are definitely taking the game serious. They're totally not just goofing off trying to have fun, and are totally not a goofy little goofball. These guys are 100% sweats. I'm talking absolutely knows how to use their abilities to always get a server wipe, or at least try to get a server wipe. They will always target cream first, then target the nearest player possible. Basically, you better have good game sense, because they will not show mercy. Alright, back to the video. We will now check out the survivors. I'll first start with what I think aren't that great when compared to the rest of the cast. But remember, all the survivors are good and can be useful in their own way. Just because I'm going by weakest to strongest doesn't mean that what they have in their kit is useless, as it can really come in clutch when the situation shows itself. Let's start with 2 that I think are alright, but will definitely struggle if they go against X head on. Cream is by definition a support character. Her playstyle is meant to help the team stay alive and hide from X. She has 2 abilities, heal and dash, and has a mechanic that revolves around cheese. Her first ability, heal, is pretty self-explanatory. You heal 10 HP for you and up to 60 HP for any survivor that's next to Cream using this move. What makes this ability bad, however, is the fact that you can't cancel this ability whenever you want, which is a personal issue for me, meaning that if X knows that you are healing, you're basically fucked unless a Knuckles or an Eggman is next to you. The second ability, called Dash, is not that good to be honest. It makes Cream dash forward, and if Cream hits a survivor or a EXE, she'll receive a 4-second speed boost. However, it damages Cream by 2 HP, and X won't get stunned if the dash hits him, meaning you're essentially screwed if you're against a Miku X. Now her mechanic actually revolves around Cheese the Chow. Cheese acts as an indicator for Cream's mental health. For if Cream hits 30 HP or lower, Cheese will die and will reduce the effectiveness of the heal ability by half, meaning she'll heal 5 HP instead of 10. In other words, do not try to get into a chase with X at any cost. Try to lead him away from you, or into other survivors like Knuckles or Metal Sonic, as most smart or good EXE players will focus on targeting you to ensure you don't make use of your heals. So try to stick to your teammates and hope that they don't lead X to you. Now let's move on to the second character. Tails is an alright character that is made to keep an eye on and stop the EXE at a distance. He has 2 abilities and 2 passives. Let's get the passives out of the way first. Passive 1, Animal Instinct, highlights an EXE when within 45 studs of Tails. And passive 2, Metal Support, increase Metal Sonic's self-heal move when close to him. Not gonna lie, I had never really noticed the highlight passive being used until researching for this video, and I have never once seen a Tails player help Metal Sonic heal faster. Now let's move on to the abilities. Laser Cannon and Glide. Laser Cannon is nice. Essentially, during the match, below the health bar, there's a secondary bar that indicates the cannon's charge. Once it's fully charged, the cannon can be used, requiring a setup of 2 seconds before it can be used. Once used, you can
I'm firing my laser!
It will last for 4 seconds, and if it hits an EXE, they will be stunned for 5 seconds. But, if you keep using that laser at them, it will increase to 9 seconds, meaning that you can straight up become the sniper from TF2. The second ability, Glide, is simple. If you're in the air, you can basically fly around the map, which can lead Tails to some absolute bullshit spots. I'm looking at you too. However, you can still be grabbed by X if he uses charge, so keep that in mind. In other words, Tails, while having an ability to actually defend himself, is not as strong when compared to the rest of the survivors, and will need to stay in the backlines to keep an eye on X, using his glide to reach certain sniper spots, to act as a turret, and hide when his cannon needs time to charge. Now I'm gonna go over the rest of the survivors. These guys are essentially A tier to S tier type of characters and won't have to worry about having other players around them to act as their shield, since their abilities and passives help them keep the EXE at bay or evade them better. Now let's get into one character that I honestly wasn't expecting, since almost 9 times out of 10 he'd become a puppet being controlled by a demon, or would just be a different evil version of him. You know that one. The only.
If bread and French is pain, then I own a fucking bakery!
Sonic the Hedgehog. The one character I wasn't expecting to be in the game. And honestly, I'm glad he is. He has a special mechanic and 2 passives. First, the passives. Passive 1, Unstoppable, can allow Sonic to stun the EXE, even if the EXE has invincibility frames, but I wouldn't recommend relying on it. And passive 2, Guilt. If he is the last man standing, he'll receive 15% more damage. Keep in mind that whenever any other survivor is the last man standing, they receive a 25% damage resistance. And not only that, Sonic's timer as the last man standing is slightly increased when compared to other survivors. Now his special mechanic, being his dodge meter. I'll explain this as best as I can. Let's say X deals 20 damage and you have 50 dodge meter. Instead of losing health, your dodge would take the hit instead, and if X hits Sonic while he has 10 dodge, any remaining damage will be nullified, meaning that dodge will only receive 10 damage and ignore the other 10. Keep this in mind, as this could be the difference between your survival or your demise. Sonic has 2 abilities, Spin Dash and Peel Out. Spin Dash is simple. Sonic will do a spin dash. If it hits a EXE, it will stun the EXE for a second. However, you can hit them 2 more times to increase the stun duration by 3 seconds. This ability is also the only way to replenish your dodge chance. The second ability is Peel Out, essentially a move from Sonic CD. He charges up a run for 3 seconds, then
Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! One Sonic! Gotta go fast even fast!
This lasts for 7 seconds. Yes, the 3-second charge sounds bad and useless on most cases, but what makes this actually useful is that you can carry certain survivors and can even pick up down survivors and revive them as well. The only characters that aren't able to be carried are Eggman and Metal Sonic, but that's pretty self-explanatory. So, Sonic is a really good character, acting as an all-arounder of the survivors. He has 2 abilities that focuses on both stuns and mobility, and can be used to protect or save your teammates if you're close enough to make use of them. So try to keep an eye on where the EXE is to see if they need help or if they need to tag out. Now, as we know, imitation is a form of flattery, and we all know there's only one that can copy his style and flow whilst being his own character. That being Metal Sonic is a survivor that prioritizes keeping the EXE at bay and being able to get back in the fight if he finds the time to heal himself. He has 2 passives and a special mechanic. First, the passives. Passive 1, Proximity Warning. Metal Sonic will have a beeping noise, indicating that an EXE is nearby, even if they are invisible. And Passive 2, Resistance. Essentially, it buffs Metal Sonic's defenses to have a 50% damage resistance. This can also stack with the Last Man Standing buff and his special mechanic. Basically, if Metal Sonic dies, he'll commit a suicide bomb move that stuns any EXE out that is next to you. The stun will last for 10 seconds. Now, you may have noticed that his health is bigger than the others. That's because he actually has 1 life. Let me explain. All of the survivors have a second life that can help them escape. If they get downed the first time, they have a chance of getting revived or bleeding out. But if they die again, that's game over for them, explaining why he has 175 health, meaning that you can't just charge in their death first and expect everything to go as planned. You have to pick your battles very carefully to make sure that you can stay alive to help the survivors. Now let's see his abilities. Destructive Charge and Self-Repair. Destructive Charge is simple. You charge up a move for 1 second. Then you gain a huge speed boost, which can be useful as a getaway tool. But what it's actually meant for is to stun a EXE. If you come into contact with one, you'll stun the EXE for 3 seconds. But if you hit an EXE and push into a wall, you'll stun them for 5 seconds and can kinda ragdoll them, which can lead into some epic plays. Unfortunately, you'll lose up to 40 HP if you hit an EXE, and for some reason, he isn't able to receive heals from Cream. Thankfully, his second ability can help him with his health. Self-Repair will force Metal Sonic to stand in place, making him an easy target to a nearby EXE, but can heal 7 HP every 2 seconds, up to 70 for the full duration. However, you can only heal up to 150 health instead of topping up at 175. And if you can remember back at the Tails section, if nearby, he can increase the speed that Metal Sonic can heal himself. A certain creator also has this passive, but we'll get to him in a minute. In essence, Metal Sonic is a tough character to both play and deal with, and is probably the strongest character there is, but the drawbacks keeps him from being too powerful, so you really need to choose whether or not you want to keep the EXE at bay, or if you need time to lick your wounds. But just because there's one tank, doesn't mean there can't be a second tank, like...
You can call me Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle.
Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle? What the?
Knuckles the Echidna, while not as tanky as Metal Sonic, can certainly throw a punch. He has a special mechanic and one passive, that being Unstoppable, which allows him to increase the stun duration for a EXE. If they are already stunned, this doesn't mean you can stun them whenever you want, because they can gain stun immunity for a few seconds, so keep that in mind. And his mechanic, that being a glide move. If you jump on a wall, Knuckles can latch onto the wall and can jump off to perform a glide. The glide lasts for 4 seconds, but can be useful for tricking the EXE or to reach a specific spot on the map to get away. Now let's check out his abilities, that being Punch and Counter. They are both self-explanatory. Punch lets Knuckles slow down to deliver a punch, which stuns the EXE for 5 seconds. However, Knuckles can charge this move to 3 stages, the second stage stunning X for 6 seconds, and a fully charged punch for 8 seconds, even burning the EXE. But keep in mind that X can still damage you, but it will be reduced by 64%, and if you are in the air, he will perform a ground pound instead. The stun duration remains the same. Now let's see Counter. Exactly as you expect, Counter lets you block an attack and stun the EXE for 5 seconds. What makes this move powerful is that you can use Counter while using the punch ability, and depending on what stage you are in, the same stun duration will affect the EXE too. It does however force you to stop in place, so if you misclick or mess up your timing for the Counter, you will be punished for it. So, Knuckles is the fighter of the group and is practically made to go against X, but keep in mind that you will need to time your abilities wisely if you want to use your punch right away, or if you want to charge it for a better stun time. Do you wait for the EXE to try and grab you to use Counter, or try to trick him into throwing an attack? Now the next 2 characters are what I think are the most powerful because of how their playstyles are. It can help them stay alive without needing others to act as a shield. Let's start with the one that I think is slightly less powerful than the other.
You could do it. Just kick Kaiba's butt.
They're right. I've got to believe in the cards like my friends believe in me. The unstoppable Exodia.
Amy Rose is a unique character in that her playstyle revolves around her mechanic. Speaking of, her special mechanic is tarot cards. Essentially, at the start of a match, Amy will receive 2 cards and can only have 2 at a time. However, there are 6 cards that you can start with. Let's go over the cards first, as they come with buffs and debuffs, and can also stack, meaning that these cards will heavily change how you play. First, the world will highlight all players on the map, and I do mean everyone on the map. Even X's invisibility move isn't safe from this, but this will reduce your speed by 2. Now the full will increase your speed by 1.5, but will decrease your stunt time to 2 seconds, meaning you can go faster, but the EXE, if stunned by you, will be stunned for less time. Now we have strength, which increases your stunt duration up to 5 seconds, but it will give you a decrease of 10% damage resistance and will slow you down by 3. Now we have the best card in her kit, the Emperor, which gives you a 0.5 speed increase and a 15% damage resistance, and we have the second best card, the Sun, which grants Amy a passive, which allows her to both heal herself and her team. Except Metal Sonic, it can only heal you up to 75 HP, granting 1 HP every 2 seconds. However, this comes with a trade-off, if you can call it that. If a survivor is near Amy, whether they are getting healed or not, will slowly have their screen turning white, blinding the survivors, but this can quickly go away once you're away from Amy. Now we have the worst card to ever get, the Moon. It will grant either a increase or decrease by -1.5 or 1.5 in speed, and a -15 or 15 in damage resistance. What makes this card borderline unusable though, is its drawback. That being that Amy will have her vision blinded by a fog. On Green Hills it's not that bad, but on the rest. Like, what in the actual am I supposed to see? I literally can't see anything. I heavily recommend getting rid of this card as soon as possible. Speaking of, now let's check out her abilities, that being Hammer, Hammer Throw, and Reroll. Reroll is simple. Reroll the 2 tarot cards you have to hopefully get something better or worse. Now her hammer moves. The first move will set Amy up for a counter for 2 seconds. If it hits her EXE, it will stun them for 3 seconds. If you use this, if Amy is in the air, she'll instead do a high bounce. This can also stun the EXE. Now Hammer Throw. Amy will change her stance and get ready to throw. If the thrown hammer hits an EXE, they will be stunned for 3 seconds. During this time, Amy will have to either grab the hammer immediately or wait 8 seconds for the hammer to return to her, like she's Thor. So then, Amy is a RNG dependent character. While she has abilities to defend herself and others from the EXE, her tarot cards are what can ultimately make or break Amy, since the cards can stack. If you get cards that slow you down, consider yourself utterly but if you can get either the full Emperor or the Sun card, consider yourself very lucky. So try to keep gambling to get cards that can help you in the moment, and don't waste your hammer abilities, as they can still help you and your team when the time is right. Now we go to the last character, and the one that I think is the most powerful, but before I get into him, I just want to say, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
What are you?
Dr. Gerald. Robotnik. Where to start with you? Let's get the mechanic and passive out of the way. Metal Sonic support. It's essentially Tails' passive for Metal Sonic, but much better. Unfortunately, it can't stack with Tails' passive. Now his mechanic. A double jump when in the air. Jump again, which can help you if you're being chased and need to get away from an EXE. There is a 10-second cooldown after use. Now we have his hidden passive. That's right, you heard here. His secret passive.
Are you ready? Are you sure? Okay, the secret formula
Is that he can jump more often than the other survivors. Now I know that sounds lame, but trust me, this will get on your nerves. I should know. Also it's meant for the jetpack, so you can use it mid-air. Now let's see his abilities. Jetpack boost and energy shield. They are both simple in concept, but powerful on execution. Jetpack boost would grant Eggman a huge speed boost, and I do mean huge. For 3 seconds, you can still jump and use the jetpack during this time. And if you get hit by an EXE, consider yourself faster than Sonic, because he's now across the map. His next ability, Energy Shield, gives Eggman a shield that lasts for 3 seconds. If an EXE tries to hit you with a shield, they will be stunned for 2 seconds. Now on paper, he doesn't sound that powerful, so why am I so pissed off about this guy? Well, he's supposed to be the survivalist of the group, meaning that if he is the last man standing, you better pray to a god that you get this because he will almost 100% escape and die. Shit, god damn. No. Alright, I'm calm. To simplify him, he is a very powerful character, not in his ability to stun, but in his ability to run away like a little puppy, meaning that the only time that you will die as Eggman is because you're not playing like a selfish jackass. Alright, now the maps, and that will be all there is to talk about. Green Hill, based off the Green Hill Zone, is a fairly small map, as in there isn't really a lot of ways to possibly outrun the EXE. There's a bridge on the left side of the map, which also has a roof that only Eggman and 2011X can reach. There's a pretty cool waterfall with a couple of pillars to get on. There are small caves that can lead to each other. There's even this huge cliff that you can walk around in and jump off to run away. But there is this huge empty space with like a couple pillars, but that's it. Now visually, despite the waterfall, the greenery is practically replaced by grey colors, and the orange pillars are slightly grayed out too, almost like the forest's essence had been sucked out by an EXE. Once you reach the 80-second mark, Zeus decides to have some fun with you by throwing lightning at the arena, and these lightning strikes can hurt you. If you get struck by one, you will be heavily slowed down and have the flaming effect like the Knuckles Stage 3 punch. This map is alright, but if you played most horror games, it's a map you'll see 100 times, but it works and fits in the game. You Can't Run, which is based off the Knuckles level from Sonic.exe, which is also based off Scrap Brain Zone from Sonic 1, is a weird map, as in the layout is weird. There's a bunch of paths that either lead to one another or leads to dead ends, and there's multiple floors to hide in, allowing more ways to run away from the killer. This is also one of 2 maps that have bullshit spots for Tails to hide in, which can become a lifesaver if you get grabbed around Tails' view. The design is obviously based off one of Eggman's factories, with this weird red sky looming over the area. There's even Shadow sleeping in his pod, and when the time hits 80 seconds, instead of a green ring spawning in, there will be 4 exit gates that opens up, allowing the survivors to choose which exit they want to pick. And there's also a hazard, that being a reactor blowing up, killing anyone that gets hit by it. It won't affect the whole map, and only block off 2 exits out of the 4. This map is pretty cool, if a bit weird with the layout. There are some paths that I feel is just pointless and just serves to lead you into a dead end or run around in circles, and the Tails spot makes it difficult to play as an EXE that can't charge up there and deal with Tails, but otherwise, the map is pretty cool. X's Castle, or what was originally called Hill Gym, which is based off the Eggman level called ... and as far as I know, was the only map that actually changed decor when the game launched. I swear there were Eggman statues instead of Classic X, and as a matter of fact, I can prove it, as the map really did change from the name and design from launch. The only reason I can think of a theory for this is that X decided to say,
Screw it. If I'm stuck here, I'll at least make myself comfortable here.
And that is why the map had changed. But enough about that. This map can feel like a maze. There's multiple floors that leads to one another, but there are a couple of dead ends and areas that can lead to those dead ends. The map's design is cool, clearly looking like a section of a castle that had been left forgotten until X decided to make this place his new home, which explains why there are statues of him around the area. This map is also the only one that doesn't feature a hazard, but instead has a overtime mechanic, granting 17 more seconds to survivors, though I have no clue why it was implemented there in the first place, nor do I know if it's a reference to something, but whatever. The map as a whole is honestly one of the best out of the 4, as there are many ways the survivors and EXEs can use the arena to their advantage. Want to wait on top of a window, to drop down to a different section, or hide in a dead end and hope the escape ring spawns there. So many choices, yet so little time. Not Perfect, which is based off the bonus level in Sonic 1, is probably the hardest map out of the 4, because when the game launched, everyone unanimously hated this map, due to the comical amount of bumpers that was littered around the map, and one giant hazard down below, but I'll get to that in a bit. The area has bumpers that can ragdoll you. Even if you're an EXE, the arena also has no invisible walls, meaning that if you fall into the void, you fall into the void, dealing 35 damage to the survivors, and if you're an EXE, you'll be stunned for like 2 seconds. Now the design. It's obviously bright and colorful, with a bunch of hearts and birds floating above the arena, with most of the floors and walls looking like the blocks back in the bonus level. Once the time hits the 80-second mark, the arena becomes dark, and nothing else changes afterwards. But if I'm being honest, this is probably my most favorite map besides X's Castle, due to how challenging the map is in general, and since this map has been hated so much that it's getting a rework in a future update, all we can do now is just wait and hope that the rework makes the map good for both survivors and EXEs. Now then, I think that's all there is to talk about. Admittedly, I'm leaving a couple of stuff out, like the steady stream of updates and news we've been getting. The fact that characters like Sonic and Amy are drowning in costumes, whereas Metal has like 3 skins, a scarf, and a few taunts, the Jords, Blaze, Silver, Shadow, and Colossus being seen when they haven't been released yet, and the amount of references to the games and EXE community. But I'd honestly rather that you, yes you, would go check it out yourselves. Also, I'm a lazy piece of shit that took too long making this video. The game is completely free, with no pay to win bullshit going on. The game may feel a bit bare bones due to there only being one EXE to play, but that .2 update will surely fix up that when it's ready. Now I'm gonna get ready to work on my other videos. If you like what you saw, somehow, please leave a like and subscribe for me. That's really all I'm asking. Thank you.